Hey there, it's Ryan, and I'm going to show you how to make your own explainer video. I get asked a fair bit about who made our explainer video, but the truth is I made it myself. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. When you decide to make a video, you kind of have a couple options. First, you can do something that's awesome and amazing and very expensive, anywhere from a couple grand to $100,000. Or you can go the cheap route, but usually it looks pretty terrible, unprofessional, or even just cheesy. And I didn't like those choices. So here's a quick sample of how the video turned out.
You want to know what's going on with your site, so you install some analytics software. But what do you see when you install that software? A bunch of craziness.
After making our explainer, I was able to create several videos and product tutorials. Here are a few examples. I made this video for a Facebook ad. It's unbelievably simple. It's just animated text and there isn't even audio. Once I had the script down, I made the video in about 10 minutes using Mac's Keynote presentation software. The crazy thing about this video is it worked much better than most other videos that we tried. Here's another ad I made, again using Keynote.
While Wanamaker was a pioneer in advertising, he had a complaint. Half the money I spend on advertising is wasted. The trouble is, I don't know which half. You see, all Wanamaker had to track his marketing efforts was Google Analytics. So half his marketing reached the wrong people, or simply didn't work. Luckily, today we don't have to.
There's nothing complicated going on here. The video is just moving images, some basic text, and a voiceover by a skinny white British guy who sounds like Morgan Freeman. There are a few different techniques you can use to present your explainer. First is shooting video. Shooting video has gotten a lot easier. An HDR camera will take amazing video, and even iPhone footage can look incredible. I didn't end up going this route with our explainer because our product has some concepts that are easier to explain with graphics and animation. Plus, lighting, sound, and unpaid actors aren't things that I wanted to deal with. All of it's very doable, and I hope to do it in the future, but I just didn't want to tackle it now. Here's an extremely well done example by one of my favorite video companies, Sandwich Video. It relies almost entirely on footage and explains the product very well.
With an app called Notarize.
Notarize.
Notarize lets you set up a video chat with a real live licensed respectable notary public and get your documents notarized right there.
Notarize.
Okay.
The next technique is B-roll and stock images. B-roll is just background footage with no audio, which you can find on iStock Photo or any stock photo sites. The visual part of this video by Design Pickle is mostly B-roll, stock pictures, and a bit of text, and it comes off really well. The next technique is just screen recording. If you have a software product, you can just record yourself using the product. This is probably the easiest type of video to make, but unless you're Basecamp, recording yourself using software may not be enough to sell it. Simple animation is another way to pull off an explainer video. I made this one for another company called Bite Size PR using Keynote. There's nothing fancy going on here. The shapes and the animations are all very basic, but this explainer does very, very well. Here's another example of very simple animation. This video needs a little bit more to be an effective explainer, but it is a good example of how simply screenshots, background color, and a few slide transitions can make a very sharp video. The next technique is animation plus screen recording. If you have a software product, combining screen recording with animation works really well. Some animations of this video are advanced, but most of this video is pretty simple. The easiest way to create animations is to use presentation software like Keynote, PowerPoint, or Prezi. You can use other more complicated software, but there's a steep learning curve. These tools are much more intuitive. I created almost our entire explainer with Apple's Keynote software, but PowerPoint has very similar functionality. The specific instructions will be different between Keynote and PowerPoint, but the steps and concepts are very similar. Once you're done making the animations and recording your voiceover, you'll upload your video and audio files into an editing software like iMovie or ScreenFlow. And this is where you'll match up the voiceover with the animation and make changes. While ScreenFlow costs $129, I prefer it to iMovie just because it's so easy to use. Okay, let's get started. First, let's open up Keynote and choose a blank presentation. Before we get started, you need to know the dimensions of your final video. I used a resolution of 2560 by 1440, which is a common aspect ratio of 16 by 9. And that means it will fit YouTube's video player perfectly, and it's also good for Wistia and other videos. Also, these dimensions make the video HD quality on a desktop. Here's how to set the dimensions. Click the document icon here, and under slide size, click custom and enter the dimensions 2560 by 1440 right here. Now let's create the first slide. For the first slide, I recommend displaying one short sentence that explains what your product or service does, and then animate the text. It's a simple way to start. And here's how to animate the text. Just select the text, click the animate button, then build in. And the build-in animation controls how the text first appears. Then choose an animation like, in this case, typewriter. Now let's add some graphics. I just use stock icons from iStock Photo, and once you download the graphics, just copy and paste them into the presentation here. Now we're going to add some shapes. The shapes in this presentation are super basic. I use circles and rectangles and rounded rectangles, and that's pretty much it. Even the more complicated graphics are just shapes grouped together. So here's how to create shapes. Click the shapes icon, select your shape, we'll do a rectangle. Click the Format button to customize the color and the border of the shape. You can change the color with this color selector here, or you can click this little eyedropper, and when you hover over anything else on your screen, it'll change the color to that shape. And then you can save the colors down here by dragging them over for the presets and then use them later. I'm going to create a little web page graphic here. I'm just going to add more rectangles. And you can copy and paste the shapes. So I'll get a couple images here, copy and paste again, drag it down to make it look like a little block of text, just copying and pasting, move it over. Then I'll drag my saved color presets over here. I spent some time cleaning it up and getting it right. And now we have a web page icon. So select all the graphics you made here, and then right click and click group. What this will do is save all these graphics as one graphic so that you don't have to move all these little things all the time. Okay, let's animate. So I've added this graphic here, and what I want to do is move this graphic, this script graphic, to behind the web page graphic. So if you select this graphic and you have animate selected, you'll have three options: build in, action, and build out. Build in is how you want the graphic to first appear. So if you add an effect here and just said appear and then do preview, it just shows up from nothing to showing up. And then if you wanted to move this, what you would do is go to action, add effect, and move. And you get a nice little preview here. And then you can move this and then do preview. And this is what it looks like. Now, if you see, this graphic is actually in front of the web page, so we don't want that. We want it to show it behind. So I'll just select the web page graphic and click Arrange, Bring to Front. I'll go back here and preview it again, and it moves there. Now, you can change the duration of the animation here by making it slower, or you can do it faster and just kind of get a feel for what's right. The other thing that you can do is change the path of this movement by clicking on this line and kind of do a little bend here. And this is a nice little effect there. And once you're done with that, if you wanted to have these objects leave, you would just click Build Out, Add Effect, and then disappear or dissolve, and then it just kind of disappears. So those are the three animation types: build in, action, and build out. Okay, let's add another step. I'm going to copy and paste in another graphic here. And I want this to appear. So I'll go to Build In, Add Effect, and let's go Dissolve so it dissolves in nicely. But as you can see, there's a lot of things going on here. So in order to see all of the animations, click Build Order, and it shows you all of them in which order they appear. Okay, so if I hit play, you can kind of see what's going on here each step. If I click on this graphic, you'll see the animation here. You can also link together the animations so they happen one after another. So if I want to link this animation to the previous one, I just click on it, drag it up, and then if you see down here, it starts after build 4. You can also add a delay if you want it to happen not immediately, but add a little delay to it. And if you hit preview, it shows you kind of how it works. And if you go up to play, this will play the whole slide from the beginning. After you review the animation, you can change the order by dragging the group into the right position here. Or if you need to do a delay or change the timing a little bit, you can do it here. Don't get too hung up on the delay time because we will have a chance to edit that in another piece of software later, but just get the general flow right, make it close, and you can change things later if you need to. Okay, this is a completed presentation with all the animations, and I just want to talk about organization for a second. So theoretically, you could do all the animations on one slide, but the reality is that the animations will get too complicated and it'll be too hard to work with. So you want to break them out into different slides. When you break them out into different slides, it's either a continuation of the previous animation or it's a new animation. So if it's a continuation, what you want to do is just copy and paste all the objects on the previous slide. So here I'll just select all these and copy, and then I would paste them on this slide. That way it looks like the animation is just continuing. However, if you have two very different slides, you can use a transition that makes it look like an animation between the two different slides. So if you see this example here, this slide is very different from this slide, but I have a transition here. So if I want to preview this, this is how it looks. To add a transition to the slide, you just select the slide, go to animate, and then you would select your transition here, and then you can preview it. Once you're done with all your slides, all you need to do is export them as a movie. Just go to File, Export to Movie. And then I changed these slides to be 0 seconds and 0 seconds. It just makes the video a little bit shorter. And again, you can edit the timing later. So I just condensed that to 0. The resolution I choose is the same dimensions, 2560 by 1440. I choose this last option here, the Apple ProRes 4444, and hit next. And then your slides will be downloaded as a movie. Once it's in the movie format, just watch it. Make sure there are no major errors. If there are, just go back and fix them and download it again. To record your voiceover, just go into ScreenFlow and go File, New. And then just check this Record Audio From. Select your mic source and hit the record button. A couple of quick tips on the voiceover. The first thing is you want to really pay attention to sound quality. Video with bad sound comes across as amateur and it's just hard to listen to. Another thing is to get an external microphone. It goes a long way in improving the sound quality. Don't rely on your laptop's internal mic. You can go on Amazon and find a microphone for $50 or definitely under $100 and it'll go a long way. The next thing is to eliminate background noise. One trick is to find a small room with soft surfaces that absorb the sound, that have, a room that has a rug or carpet. If you put a blanket over your head and record the audio, you'll eliminate almost all background noise, even if you're not in a noisy room. So it's absurd, but it works really well. Another tip, and I always have to work on this, is try to make your voice sound upbeat. The first time I did a voiceover, my voice just came across as downright depressing. It was slow and quiet and dull. So make sure it's upbeat, you're loud and clearly articulated. Another thing you want to do is edit out mistakes, the ums and the uhs. And when you do make a mistake, just clap really loud. And that will show up as a spike on the audio that makes it easier to find your mistakes and cut them out. And once you're done with your recording, it'll show up here in ScreenFlow. You can then export the audio file to put it into other software, or you can just leave it here and name the file and import your video. But before we upload the video, let's get some background music and sound effects. So this is Audio Jungle. This is where I found some of my audio background. You can search for specific sounds like ding, and then you can play them. Or you can look for like a swoosh. Or you can find background music. You can filter this by being, uplifting or something like positive, something like that. I didn't use this background music. I used Wistia's. Wistia has some really good background music that sounds a little unique, so I like that. So you can just download any of those songs and use them as your background music. Once you downloaded your music and sound effects, you just add the files by clicking Add Media over here. Find the file that you want, click Open, and it'll be in the media library of ScreenFlow. To add it to your actual video, you just double click on it and it shows up here. Okay, so I have some I have my voiceover here on the left. I'm going to move that up to the top. This is my background music. And then I have a sound effect here, and I'm going to drag that down to the bottom. Now, when I hit the space bar, it'll play. See the red line playing. And if you'll notice, the background music is way too loud. So I want to go up here to the audio button and reduce this down. Now, to fade in your background music, what you're going to do is add an audio action. So click on your background music and then go up here to make sure the audio icon is selected and click action. And if I zoom in here, you'll see this yellow box here. This is the start and the end of the audio action. So something's happening here. So I'm going to move this red scrubber to the beginning of the audio action. And I'm going to set the volume to 0. And then I'm going to go to the very end of the audio action, make sure it's selected, and I'm going to bring it up to 3%, which is what we want. And then the audio fades in from 0 to 3%. You can also do a fade out using the same process. Just go to the very end of your audio clip. Zoom in here. We'll add an audio action. Move the scrubber to the beginning of the audio action. 3% is good. And then at the end, 0%. And that will fade out the audio. Okay, now if you haven't already done so, let's go ahead and add the video, the animation. Just find the file, click open. There it is. Just double click on it, just like the other ones. And here's the video.
You want to know what's going on with your site, so you install some analytics software. But what do you see when you install that software? A bunch of craziness. Sure, you'll see visits, page views, bounce rate.
And as you'll see, the timing is off, so we need to adjust the timing. So the audio is ahead of the graphics. So all I need to do is line up the audio to where I want it to start. So kind of get it to here, to this point where after the customer's part, put the audio there, and then it kind of matches up.
You want to know what's going on with your site, so you install some analytics software. But what do you see when you install that software? A bunch of crazy.
And as you'll see, the audio is again ahead of the video. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to actually pause the video by cutting it and inserting a freeze frame. So I'm going to go right before this graphic starts moving. I'm going to select the video section. I'm going to hit T, and that cuts the video here. I'm going to splice this out. And then what I'm going to do is go Edit, Add Freeze Frame. What this does is essentially takes a screenshot, and I can then drag this out, so it's all just one image.
What do you see when you install that software? A bunch of craziness.
And so that's, now I can shorten it back up, move this video back over, and it matches the audio a little bit better. Now, if your audio is ahead of your video, you only have really two options. The first option is to cut out some of the audio, so just select the clip. And if there's any downspit time, if there's any space between words, then you just hit T, move it over, T again, and then delete the downtime and slide the two audio files together. Your other option is to speed up the video part. So in order to do that, again, get the video where you want to split it, hit the T button, that splits the file. Select the end of the clip that you want to speed up, hit T again, then hit the little gear icon and then click Show Clip Inspector. And what you can do here is speed up the video, 200%, 300%, whatever it is. And that will make the this section play faster. And then you can move the video back over so it's all the same. And then once you've added in your sound effects, lined up all your audio and video files, and everything looks good, you just go to File. You can go Publish to push this directly to YouTube, Facebook, or Wistia. But I've had some issues with that, so I prefer to do Export. And then click Export. And then you can take that video file and upload it to the services you want, like Facebook, Wistia, YouTube. And then once it's on those services, you can embed your video. I like to use Wistia right on your site by just copying and pasting the code where it needs to be on your site. Okay, that's it. I hope you found this video helpful. If there's anything that isn't clear or if you get stuck, send me an email and I'll do what I can to help out. And if you do make an explainer, let me know. I'd love to see it. Thanks.